The warm evening air of Los Angeles carried the scent of expensive food and the distant hum of flying cars overhead. Keanu Reeves stepped out of the golden doors of La Cille, one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. He looked no different than he had decades ago, thanks to the life extension treatments that had become common for those who could afford them. He adjusted his black jacket and walked slowly down the marble steps. The meeting with the studio executives had gone well. His new movie would be filmed on 3 different planets. Something that would have been impossible when he first started acting over a century ago. Now, in the year 2157, traveling between worlds was as easy as flying. It's from one city to another. The street outside the restaurant was busy with people from dozens of different planets. Tall, blue-skinned Altarians walked next to short, furry Keplerians. Some humans wore clothes that marked them as visitors from the Mars colonies, while others had the pale skin of those who lived in the underground cities of Europa. Earth had become the center of the galaxy, a place where all species came to do business, make art, and live in peace. Keanu was about to call for his car when he noticed her. A young girl, maybe 12 years old, sat on the sidewalk near the restaurant's entrance. She had dark hair and wore simple clothes that looked too big for her small frame. In her hands, she held a small device that gave off a soft blue light. Most people walked past her without looking. In a city full of aliens and strange technology, one child with a glowing gadget was not unusual. But something about the girl made Keanu stop. She seemed so alone, so focused on the device in her hands that she ignored everything around her. He walked over to her, his footsteps quiet on the smooth pavement. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice gentle. "Do you need help?" The girl looked up at him, and Keanu was surprised by her eyes. They were brown like a human's, but there was something different about them. They seemed to see too much, as if she could look right through him. "You're Keanu Reeves," she said. It was not a question. "Yes, I am." Keanu smiled and sat down on a nearby bench so he would not tower over her. "What's your name? Maya Chen?" She continued to stare at him with those strange eyes. "You make movies?" "That's right. Are you a fan?" Maya was quiet for a moment, looking down at the device in her hands. The blue light pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. "I've seen all your movies," she said finally. "The old ones and the new ones. But that's not why I know you." Keanu felt a small chill run down his spine. There was something in the girl's voice. Something that made him suddenly alert. Years of training kicked in, though he tried to keep his expression calm and friendly. "Oh, then why do you know me?" Maya looked up at him again, and this time her eyes seemed to glow with the same blue light as her device. "You're the human who destroyed the Zephyrian Empire's invasion fleet in 2089, aren't you? The one they call the Silent Guardian." The words hit Keanu like a physical blow. He felt his heart stop for a moment, then start beating faster. No one was supposed to know about that. The Zephyrian conflict had been classified at the highest levels. Even most government officials did not know the details. The public had been told it was a minor diplomatic incident, quickly resolved through negotiation. But Keanu knew the truth. 70 years ago, the Zephyrian Empire had sent a massive fleet to conquer Earth. They had expected to find a young, weak species that would surrender without a fight. Instead, they had met Keanu and a small team of Earth's most dangerous defenders. The battle had lasted 3 days and had taken place so far from Earth that no civilian ever knew it happened. When it was over, the Zephyrian fleet was destroyed and their empire fell apart within a year. The few survivors had scattered across the galaxy, and most people thought they were just another failed civilization that had collapsed from internal problems. Keanu had spent decades making sure no one connected him to those events. He had used his fame as an actor as the perfect cover. He would suspect that a movie star was actually one of Earth's most deadly soldiers. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said carefully. But Maya shook her head. "You don't have to." "Lie to me," she said. "I can see it in your memories." "My memories." Maya held up the glowing device. "This is a Zephyrian memory crystal. My mother left it to me when she died. She was one of the survivors from your battle." Keanu stared at the device, then at the girl. Now he understood why her eyes looked strange. She was not fully human.
A year.
Mother was Zephyrian half. My father was human. Commander Jake Torres of Earth Defense. Maybe you knew him. Keanu did know that name. Jake Torres had been a good soldier, one of the few who had survived the Zephyrian War. He had died 5 years. Later in another classified mission, Keanu had attended his funeral, but he had not known Jake had a family. Jake never mentioned he had a daughter. He didn't know about me until right before he died. My mother never told him. She was afraid of what might happen if people found out she was Zephyrian. Maya's voice was sad. She spent her whole life hiding what she was. And you? What can you do? Maya looked down at the crystal in her hands. I can access the memory web. It's how Zephyrians store information, like your internet, but it works with thoughts instead of computers. When I touch this crystal, I can see things that happened long ago. Can see the battle where you fought my mother's people. Keanu was quiet for a long moment. Around them, the city continued its busy evening routine. Hover cars hummed overhead and people from a dozen worlds walked past, talking in languages from across the galaxy. But for Keanu, everything had suddenly become very dangerous. Why are you telling me this, Maya? The girl looked up at him, and her eyes were full of fear, because I've been seeing other things in the memory web, bad things. There's something coming to Earth, something worse than the Zephyrians ever were, and I think you're the only one who can stop it. Maya stood up and held out the crystal to him. The blue light pulsed faster now, almost urgently. Will you help me? Will you help save Earth again? Keanu looked at the crystal, then at the girl's frightened face. He had thought his fighting days were over. He had thought he could spend the rest of his long life making movies and enjoying peace. But looking at Maya, he knew that peace was about to end. He reached out and took the crystal from her hands. The moment his fingers touched it, images flooded his mind. Ships, weapons, a darkness spreading across the galaxy like a cancer, and behind it all, something that wanted to destroy not just Earth, but every free world in the galaxy. Yes, he said quietly.
I'll
help you. Keanu felt the crystal's warmth in his palm as images continued to flash through his mind. Strange ships moving through space, weapons he had never seen before, and something else that made his blood run cold. Fear. Not his own fear, but the terror of entire worlds as they faced destruction. He blinked hard, and the vision stopped. Maya was watching him carefully, her strange eyes filled with worry. You saw them too, didn't you? She asked softly. Some of it. Keanu looked around the busy street. People were still walking past, laughing and talking, completely unaware that their world might be in danger. Can't talk about this here. Too many ears. Maya nodded and picked up a small backpack from beside where she had been sitting. Where can we go? My house. It's safe there. Keanu stood up and pressed a button. On his phone, a sleek black car descended from the traffic lanes above and landed silently on the street beside them. The door opened automatically as they got into the car. Maya stared out the window at the flying vehicles and alien pedestrians. I've never been in a hover car before, she said. Where have you been living? In the old subway tunnels under the city. There are lots of empty spaces down there since they built the sky trains. Other people live there too, people who don't have papers or don't want to be found. Keanu felt a pang of sadness. While he lived in luxury in the hills above Los Angeles, this child had been hiding underground, carrying secrets that could save or doom their world. The car rose smoothly into the air and joined the stream of traffic heading toward the Hollywood hills. Below them, the city spread out like a galaxy of lights. Earth had become beautiful in ways the old world had never imagined. But Keanu knew that beauty could disappear in an instant if the wrong enemy decided to take it away. 20 minutes. Later, they landed on the roof of Keanu's house. From the outside, it looked like a normal mansion, the kind that movie stars had lived in for over 2 centuries. But Keanu led Maya through a hidden door that opened only to his handprint. Inside, the house was very different. The walls were lined with screens showing views from satellites around Earth and beyond. Weapons were stored in hidden compartments, and computers hummed quietly as they monitored communications from across the galaxy. Welcome to my real home, Keanu said. Maya looked around with wide eyes. You've been watching for threats this whole time. Someone has to. Earth's official military is good, but they don't know about all the dangers out there. Sometimes the galaxy needs unofficial guardians. Keanu led her to a comfortable chair and sat down across from her. Now, tell me everything. Start with your mother. Maya held the crystal tightly in both hands. Her name was Zara. She was a communications officer on one of the Zephyrian ships during the battle in 2089. When your team destroyed the fleet, the ship was damaged but not destroyed. She managed to escape in a small pod and crash-landed on Earth. Most of the survivors were sent back to Zephyrian space. She hid. She was afraid of what would happen to her if she was sent back. The Zephyrian Empire was falling apart, and anyone who had failed in battle was being executed. So she changed her appearance with surgery and got false identity papers. Maya's voice became sad. She met my father 3 years later. Jake Torres was working security at the spaceport where she had gotten a job fixing ships. She never told him what she really was. She was too scared, and Jake never suspected. Zephyrians look almost human when they want to. The only difference is in the eyes and some internal organs. She took medicine to hide the eye color and hoped no one would find out the rest. Keanu thought about Jake Torres. He had been a good man, brave and honest. It must have hurt him to learn the truth so late. When did your father find out? Right after I was born. The doctors ran tests and found that I had mixed genetics. Jake was angry at first, but then he realized why she had been so scared. By then, anyone connected to the Zephyrian Empire was being hunted by bounty hunters and government agents. Maya looked down at the crystal. Jake helped her hide even better after that. He used his military connections to create new identity papers for both of them. But he was killed on a mission when I was 7. After that, it was just me and my mother. What happened to her? She got sick last year. Something was wrong with her internal organs, probably from all the medicine she had been taking to hide her Zephyrian traits. She died 3 months ago. Keanu felt sorry for the girl. She had lost both parents and was now alone in the world, carrying secrets that grown-ups found hard to handle. Before she died, she gave you the crystal? Maya nodded. She said it contained important information about threats to Earth. She made me promise to find someone who could use it to protect the planet. She told me about you, about what you had done during the war. She said you were the only human the Zephyrians had ever truly feared. Keanu took the crystal from Maya's hands and held it up to the light. It was warm and seemed to pulse with its own inner life. How does it work? You have to connect to the memory web. It's like diving into an ocean of thoughts and experiences. But be careful. If you go too deep, you might get lost. Keanu closed his eyes and focused on the crystal. Immediately, his mind was flooded with alien thoughts and memories. He saw the Zephyrian homeworld, a beautiful planet covered in crystal cities, saw their empire at its height, controlling dozens of star systems. But then the images changed. He saw darkness spreading across space, consuming everything in its path. Worlds died, entire species disappeared, and behind it all was something that called itself the hegemony. The hegemony was not just one species, but 12 different alien races working together. They had been conquering the galaxy for over 1,000 years, destroying any civilization that might challenge their rule. They were systematic, patient, and completely without mercy. Keanu saw their strategy for Earth. They had been watching humanity for decades, studying their strengths and weaknesses. They knew about Earth's military, about the alliance with other peaceful species, about the planet's defenses. And they had a plan to destroy it all. But the worst part was what Keanu saw next. The hegemony had not just been watching Earth from space. They had been infiltrating it for years. Agents with altered appearances had taken positions in government, in the military, even in the entertainment industry. They had been slowly poisoning human culture, making people softer and less willing to fight. The invasion was not coming someday in the future. It was already happening, quietly and invisibly. It would become open war very soon. Keanu opened his eyes and found Maya watching him intently. "You saw them," she said. "The hegemony." "Yes. And I saw how deep they've already penetrated our defenses." Keanu stood up and began pacing. "Maya, this is worse than the Zephyrian invasion. Much worse." "I know." so I had to find you. The memory web shows that they're planning something big, something that will happen soon. How soon? Maya closed her eyes and touched the crystal again. When she opened them, they were filled with terror. Unity Day, she whispered. They're going to attack during Unity Day. Unity Day was Earth's biggest celebration when representatives from hundreds of worlds came to celebrate peace and cooperation. It was only 2 weeks away, and it would be the perfect time for the hegemony to strike. When all of Earth's allies would be gathered in one place, Keanu realized that he was no longer just a retired soldier trying to live a quiet life. The galaxy needed the silent guardian. Again, and this time, the fate of every free world hung in the balance. Keanu walked to one of the hidden panels in his wall and pressed his hand against it. The panel slid open, revealing a communication system that looked far more advanced than anything available to the public. Blue lights flickered as the system came online. "I need to contact some old friends," he told Maya. "People who can help us understand what we're really facing." Maya sat quietly in her chair, still holding the memory crystal. Will they believe us? They'll believe me. We've been through too much together to doubt each other now. Keanu began typing on a keyboard that appeared when he touched the wall. "But first, I need to know more about what you can do. Your abilities could be the key to stopping this." "I'm not sure I understand them myself," Maya said. "When I touch the crystal, I can see things that happened in the past. But sometimes I see things that haven't happened yet, or things that are happening right now in other places." "Like what?" Maya closed her eyes and placed both hands on the crystal. Her face became very still, and her breathing slowed down. When she spoke, her voice sounded different, older somehow. "There's a man in a government building downtown. He looks human, but his thoughts are wrong. He's sending messages to ships hiding behind the moon. He's telling them about our defense systems." She opened her eyes and looked at Keanu with fear. "They're everywhere. The military and the government and the police. Some of them don't even know they're working for the enemy. The hegemony has ways to control minds." Before Keanu could respond, a soft chime came from his communication system. A woman's voice filled the room. "Keanu, your message said it was urgent. Lisa, I need you here now. Bring Ben if you can reach him. We have a situation. On my way." Maya looked confused. "Who was that?" "It's Dr. Lisa Park. She was our team scientist. During the Zephyrian War, she's been living a quiet life as a doctor, but she still has all her old skills. And Ben Rodriguez was my partner in the field. If anyone can help us figure out how to fight the hegemony, it's them." While they waited, Keanu showed Maya around the house. Behind the normal rooms were hidden chambers filled with equipment that most people would never see. There were weapons from a dozen different worlds, computers that could break into any system in the galaxy, and medical devices that could heal almost any injury. "You've been preparing for something like this for a long time," Maya observed. "When you've seen what's really out there in the dark between the stars, you learn to stay ready. Earth looks peaceful, but peace only lasts when good people are willing to fight for it." 20 minutes later, the sound of landing vehicles came from the roof. Keanu led Maya upstairs to meet his old friends. Dr. Lisa Park was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes. She moved with the confidence of someone who had faced danger many times and survived. Captain Ben Rodriguez was shorter and stockier, with scars on his hands that spoke of many battles. Both of them stopped when they saw Maya. "She's just a child, Keanu," Lisa said softly. "She's also half Zephyrian, and our only link to intelligence about the hegemony," Keanu replied. "Maya, show them the crystal." Maya held up the glowing device. Ben whistled low. "I haven't seen one of those in 70 years. Thought they were all destroyed." "Most were," Maya said, "but my mother saved this one. It contains information about a new threat to Earth." Lisa sat down next to Maya and spoke gently. "Can you show us what you've seen?" Maya looked at Keanu, who nodded encouragingly. She closed her eyes and placed the crystal on the table between them. Immediately, the air above it began to shimmer, and images appeared like a hologram. They saw the hegemony fleet vast beyond. Imagination. Ships the size of cities moved through space in perfect formation. There were thousands of them, carrying weapons that could destroy planets. But worse than the ships were the images of infiltration. They saw hegemony agents who had lived on Earth for years, slowly working their way into positions of power. Some looked completely human. Others had used advanced technology to change their appearance. "My God," Ben whispered. "How long have they've been here?" "The oldest ones came 15 years ago," Maya said, her eyes still closed. "They've been very patient. They studied our culture, learned our weaknesses, and found ways to make us weaker without us knowing it." The images changed. To show what looked like a laboratory, scientists who appeared to be human were working on strange devices. "They've been putting things into our food and water," Maya continued. "Chemicals that make people less aggressive, less likely to question authority. They've been changing our entertainment too, making movies and shows that teach us to give up instead of fight." Lisa leaned forward, studying the images carefully. "This is incredibly sophisticated. They're not just planning to conquer us, they're trying to make us conquer ourselves." "It gets worse," Maya said. Images shifted again, showing the device that looked like a combination of antenna and computer. This is their master weapon. During Unity Day, when all the world leaders and alien ambassadors are gathered in one place, they're going to activate this. It will send out a signal that will paralyze most humans, making them unable to move or think clearly. "Like what they did to the people on Kepler 442, Ben said grimly. "We heard rumors about that world going silent a few years ago." "It wasn't rumors," Maya replied. "The hegemony tested their weapon there first. 3 billion people just stopped fighting back when the invasion began. They surrendered without firing a single shot." Keanu felt a chill run through him. The hegemony had learned from their failures against species like the Zephyrians. Instead of trying to defeat humanity in straight combat, they were planning to turn humans into willing slaves. "Where is this device?" he asked. Maya concentrated harder, and the images became clearer. "It's hidden in the city, somewhere underground. But I can't see exactly where. Signal is being blocked somehow." Lisa stood up and began pacing. "If they can broadcast a signal strong enough to affect the entire population, they'll need a lot of power. And they'll need to be close to the center of the city to reach everyone." "The old subway system," Ben suggested. "There are power lines and communication cables running through there. And it's close to where Unity Day will be celebrated." "That's where I've been living," Maya said suddenly. "In the tunnels. I've seen places where the walls look newer than the rest. Places where someone has been doing construction. But I thought it was just the city making repairs." Keanu felt pieces of the puzzle clicking together in his mind. They've been using the subway tunnels to move around the city without being seen. They've been building their weapon right. "Under our feet, we need to get down there and find that device," Ben said. "Not yet," Keanu replied. "If we go in blind, we'll just get ourselves killed. We need more information, and we need more people. This is bigger than the three of us can handle." He turned to Maya. "Can you use the crystal to identify more of? They're agents. We need to know who we can trust." Maya nodded and touched the crystal again. This time, she focused on people in positions of power around the city. One by one, images appeared of government officials, military officers, and business leaders. Some had normal human thoughts. Others had the strange, controlled patterns that marked them as hegemony agents or people under their influence. "General Harrison at the Defense Command Center," Maya said, pointing to one image. "He's been changed. His orders come from the hegemony now, not from Earth's government." "Mayor Collins," she continued, indicating another image. "She's not controlled, but she's been influenced. They've been feeding her information that makes her make decisions that help their plan. And Police Chief Martinez, he's completely under their control. If we're discovered, he'll send every officer in the city after us." Lisa looked worried. "If they've infiltrated this deeply, how can we know who to trust?" "We can't trust the official authorities," Keanu said. "But there are other people who've been outside the system. People like us who've been preparing for something like this." He walked back to his communication system and began sending carefully coded messages to contacts around the world. Old soldiers who had retired to quiet lives, scientists who had left government service, spies who had gone underground. "What are you doing?" Maya asked. "I'm calling up the reserves," Keanu replied. "The hegemony thinks they know everything about Earth's defenses. They don't know about the people who've been watching the Watchers. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten humanity's home." Over the next hour, responses began coming in. People who had been living normal lives suddenly remembered their old skills around the world. The network of Earth's hidden defenders began to wake up. But as they planned their response, Maya suddenly gasped and grabbed the crystal tightly. "What is it?" Lisa asked. "I'm seeing something new," Maya said, her face pale. "The hegemony knows about me. They know I have the crystal. They're sending agents to find me right now." Through the house's security system, Keanu could see vehicles landing on the street outside. Men and women in ordinary clothes were getting out, but they moved with the coordination of trained soldiers. "How long do we have?" Ben asked. "Already?" Reaching for a weapon, Maya's eyes were wide with fear. "They're already here." Keanu moved quickly to his weapons storage and began handing out guns to Ben and Lisa. "There's an escape tunnel in the basement," he said calmly. "It leads to the old storm drain system." "What about all your equipment?" Lisa asked, looking around at the sophisticated technology. "It's all backed up in safe locations. The important thing now is keeping Maya alive. She's the only one who can identify their agents." Maya clutched the crystal tightly as they moved toward the basement stairs. "I can see them in my mind." 12. Agents, all armed, they're surrounding the house. Ben checked his weapon and moved to a window. They're not trying to hide anymore. That means they're desperate to get the crystal back. Or they're confident they can eliminate all witnesses, Keanu said grimly. They reached the basement just as the sound of breaking glass came from upstairs. Heavy footsteps moved across the floor above them as the agents entered the house. Keanu opened a hidden door behind his wine storage. Beyond it was a narrow tunnel that had been dug decades ago during the Cold War. "This leads to a drainage system 3 blocks away. We'll come up near the old movie studio." As they crawled through the tunnel, Maya whispered, "I can feel them." Searching the house, they're angry that we're not there. "Can they track the crystal?" Lisa asked. "Not exactly. But they can sense when someone uses it to access the memory web. That's how they found us so quickly." They emerged from the tunnel in an abandoned lot surrounded by old Hollywood buildings. The area had been mostly empty since the movie studios moved to orbital platforms, but Keanu knew it well. He had filmed his first movies in these buildings over a century ago. "We need transportation," Ben said, looking around the deserted street. Keanu pulled out his phone and made a call. "Amy, it's me. I need a pickup at the old Universal lot. Bring the van, not your car." "We have passengers." "Who's Amy?" Maya asked Colonel Amy Foster. She was the best pilot in Earth defense. Now she works as a stunt coordinator for movies, but she still has all her old skills. 10 minutes later, a large black van landed silently beside them. The door opened to reveal a woman with short red hair and the muscular build of someone who spent time in zero gravity. She looked surprised to see Maya. "You didn't tell me we were babysitting Keanu?" "She's not a child, Amy. She's our secret weapon against the hegemony." Amy's expression became serious immediately. "The hegemony? I thought they were just rumors." "Real rumors," Ben said as they climbed into the van. "And they're planning to attack Earth during Unity Day?" As Amy piloted the van into the stream of air traffic, Keanu explained the situation. Amy listened without interrupting, but her knuckles turned white as she gripped the controls. "So we have less than 2 weeks to stop an invasion force. That's been planning this for 15 years, she said finally. "That's about right," Keanu replied. "And we can't trust anyone in the government or military because they might be controlled by the enemy." "Also correct." Amy was quiet for a moment. Then she laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Well, at least it's not boring. Where are we going?" "Need to gather the rest of the team?" "Can you reach Tony Miller, the demolitions expert?" "It's probably at his special effects shop." "But Keanu, are you sure we want to involve him?" "Tony's a little unstable. We need someone who can handle explosives, and Tony's the best there is. Plus, his work in movie special effects gives him access to materials that might be useful." Maya spoke up from the back seat. "There's something else. I can see more agents." Moving through the city, They're not just looking for us anymore, they're taking positions for something bigger. She closed her eyes and touched the crystal. They're preparing for the final phase of their plan. They're going to start eliminating key people who might organize resistance. Like who? Lisa asked. Military officers who aren't under their control. Scientists who might figure out how to stop their mind control device. Politicians who might rally people to fight back. Keanu felt a chill. They're going to start killing people tonight. We need to warn them, Amy said. We can't warn everyone, and we can't trust normal communication. Channels Ben pointed out. They'll be monitoring everything. Then we use the old network, Keanu decided. Amy, take us to Tony's shop. We'll start gathering people one by one. Tony Miller's workshop was in an old warehouse in the industrial district. From the outside, it looked like any other business. But inside, it was filled with equipment that could create explosions big enough to level buildings or small, enough to unlock a door without waking anyone in the next room. Tony himself was a thin man with wild hair and burn scars on his arms. He looked up from a device he was building when they entered, and his face broke into a wide grin. Keanu, and Ben and Amy too. It's like old times. Then he noticed Lisa and Maya, but with some new faces. Tony, we need your help, Keanu said. The kind of help that might involve blowing things up. Tony's grin got even wider. Now you're talking my language. What's the target? They explained the situation while Tony worked on his device. He listened carefully, occasionally asking technical questions about the hegemony's technology. A mind control transmitter that works on the whole city, he mused. That would need enormous power and a very specific frequency. If we could overload the power source, we need to find it first, Maya said. She had been quiet during most of the explanation, but now she looked worried. And I'm starting to see something else in the memory web. They have a backup plan. What kind of backup plan? Keanu asked. Maya's eyes went wide. If their main plan fails, if we somehow stop the mind control device, they're going to destroy the city completely. They have something called a planet cracker bomb hidden somewhere in Los Angeles. The room went very quiet. Planet cracker bombs were weapons that could split a world in half. They had been banned by every civilized species. In the galaxy, how big is this bomb? Lisa asked in a small voice. Big enough to turn everything within 1,000 miles into dust, Maya whispered. Tony stopped working and looked up. Okay, now I'm interested. You can't build a proper planet cracker without exotic matter. That stuff is incredibly rare and extremely unstable. If we could find their bomb, we could turn it against them, Ben finished. Or accidentally blow up half the planet trying, Amy pointed out. We need more people, Keanu decided. We need Dr. Nina Walsh. If anyone can figure out how their exotic matter device works, it's her. The xenobiologist who used to work for the government? Lisa asked. She quit 5 years ago when she found out they were doing experiments on captured alien technology without proper safety measures. She's been living quietly, but she still has contacts in the research community. Maya suddenly grabbed Keanu's arm. Need to hurry. I can see the assassination teams moving. They're going to start killing people in 2 hours. Keanu looked around at his small team. Amy with her pilot skills. Ben with his combat experience. Lisa with her scientific knowledge. Tony with his explosives expertise. And Maya with her unique ability to see through enemy deceptions. It was not much against an invasion force that had been planning for 15 years, but it was a start. Amy, can you reach Nina while you fly us to her location? He asked. Already. On it, Amy replied, working her communication system as the van rose into the evening sky. Keanu watched the city lights spread out below them. Somewhere down there, hegemony agents were preparing to murder innocent people. Want somewhere else? A device capable of controlling minds was waiting to turn humans into slaves. And hidden in a third location, a bomb powerful enough to destroy a planet was ready to be activated in less than 2 weeks. Representatives from hundreds of worlds would gather on Earth to celebrate peace and cooperation. Instead, they would find themselves in the middle of a war for the survival of every free species in the galaxy. But the hegemony had made one crucial mistake. They thought they understood humans. They thought they knew how Earth's people would react to overwhelming force. They were about to learn that when you threaten humanity's home, you don't just face humanity's military. You face every human who has ever decided that some things are worth fighting for, no matter the odds. The real war was about to begin. Dr. Nina Walsh lived in a small apartment above her private laboratory in the science district. When Amy's van landed on the building's roof, Nina was already waiting for them. She was a tall woman with dark skin and intelligent eyes that seemed to see everything at once. "I got your message," she told Keanu as they climbed out of the van. "At first I thought it was some kind of joke, but then I ran a scan of the city's power grid. There are massive energy readings coming from the old subway system." "So you believe us?" Ben asked. "I've been studying alien technology for 20 years. I know what a doomsday device looks like when I see one." Nina led them down into her laboratory. "The question is, what do we do about it?" Maya looked around. The lab with wonder. It was filled with devices from dozens of different worlds, all carefully labeled and studied. Some glowed with their own light, others hummed with mysterious energy. "You have Zephyrian technology," Maya said, pointing to a crystal similar to her own. "I have technology from 50 different species," Nina replied, including some that the hegemony destroyed. "That's how I know we're dealing with something truly evil." She showed them to a large table covered with star charts and technical diagrams. "I've been tracking unusual activity across the galaxy for the past 5 years. Worlds going silent, species disappearing, entire star systems becoming dead zones. I suspected there was a pattern, but I never had enough evidence." "Now you do," Keanu said. "Now I do, and it's worse than I imagined." Nina pulled up a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked dead systems, while yellow dots showed worlds that had recently gone quiet. The hegemony isn't just conquering worlds. They're systematically destroying any species that might threaten their control. Maya touched her crystal and closed her eyes. They're afraid of something. In their memories, I can see fear. They're running from something even more dangerous than they are. "Running from what?" Lisa asked. "I can't see clearly. Something from outside our galaxy, something that destroyed their original homeworlds. The 12 species that make up the hegemony are refugees. But instead of asking for help, they decided to conquer everyone else first." Tony whistled low. "So they're bullies who are scared of an even bigger bully." "That doesn't make them any less dangerous," Amy pointed out. "Scared enemies can be the most vicious ones." Nina activated another display, this one showing the layout of Los Angeles. "I've been mapping the energy signatures under the city. Our main device is located in the central subway station, about 200 feet below ground. There are smaller transmitters spread throughout the tunnel system." "And the planet Cracker Bomb?" Keanu asked. Nina's expression became grim. "That's the really bad news. The exotic matter signature suggests it's hidden somewhere in the old industrial district. But the exact location is shielded somehow." Maya opened her eyes and looked at the map. "I can find it. But I'll need to get closer to use the crystal effectively." "It's too dangerous," Ben said. "If they detect you using the crystal again, they'll send every agent in the city after us." "They're already doing that," Maya replied. "Look," she pointed to the laboratory's security monitors. Outside, black vehicles were landing on nearby buildings. Men and women in dark clothing were taking positions around the block. "How did they find us so quickly?" Amy asked. "The same way they found us at Keanu's house," Nina said, studying her instruments. "They're tracking something, but it's not the crystal itself." Maya suddenly looked frightened. "It's me. They put something in me when I was little. Remember now, my mother took me to a doctor when I was 5. He said it was just a vaccination, but—" "A tracking implant," Lisa said grimly. "They've been watching you for years." "Then why didn't they take the crystal from me sooner?" Maya asked. Keanu understood. "Because they wanted you to activate it. They wanted you to access the memory web so they could trace all the connections and find anyone else who might have Zephyrian technology or knowledge." "We've been walking into a trap from the beginning," Ben realized. "Maybe," Keanu said, "but that also means they don't know everything about us. They know Maya has the crystal, but they don't know about our network of allies." Nina moved to a control panel and began typing rapidly. I can remove the implant, but it will take a few minutes, and it's going to hurt. Do it, Maya said without hesitation. As Nina prepared the medical equipment, Keanu divided his team into smaller groups. We can't stay together anymore. They'll overwhelm us if we're all in one place. Amy, take Tony and start mapping the subway tunnels. Find ways to get close to their transmitters. What about the planet cracker? Tony asked. Ben and I will handle that. Nina, once you've helped Maya, start working on a way to disrupt their mind control frequency. And what will I do? Maya asked, as Nina positioned a small surgical device near her neck. You're going to help us win this war, Keanu said. But first we need to make sure they can't track you anymore. Nina activated the device, and Maya gritted her teeth as it located and removed the tiny implant. When it was done, she looked pale but determined. I can still use the crystal, she said, testing her connection to the memory web. But now they can't follow the signal back to me. Outside, the hegemony agents were moving closer to the building. But they seemed confused, as if they had lost their target. The implant is gone, one of them said into his radio.
We've lost
the signal. Keanu smiled grimly. Now we disappear and start hitting them where they don't expect it. The team split up, using Nina's building's service tunnels to escape in different directions. Keanu and Ben headed toward the industrial district. While Amy and Tony made their way to the subway system, Nina and Lisa began setting up a mobile laboratory in an abandoned warehouse. Maya went with Keanu and Ben, using the crystal to guide them toward the hidden planet cracker bomb. As they moved through the empty streets, she began to understand something important about the enemy. They're not as unified as they pretend to be, she told them. The 12 species that make up the hegemony don't really trust each other. They're only working together because they're afraid of that outside threat. Can we use that against them? Ben asked. If we could show them that humans are willing to help instead of fight, some of them might switch sides. Keanu thought about this as they approached the industrial district. The hegemony had spent 15 years studying human culture, but they had focused on humanity's weaknesses. It missed something important about what made humans dangerous. Humans didn't just fight to protect themselves. They fought to protect others, even their enemies. And when humans decided to help someone, they would go to incredible lengths to do it. Maya suddenly stopped walking. I can feel it. The bomb is close. She led them to an old factory that had been abandoned for decades. Using the crystal, she guided them through the dark hallways to a hidden basement. There, surrounded by exotic matter containment fields, was a device that could destroy a planet. It's beautiful, Ben said quietly. And terrifying. The bomb was about the size of a small car, covered in alien symbols that glowed with soft blue light. Energy readings from Keanu's scanner showed that it was fully armed and ready to detonate. Can you disarm it? Keanu asked. Ben studied the device carefully. Maybe, but if I make a mistake, we'll vaporize half the planet. Maya touched the crystal again, searching for information about the bomb's design. Wait, there's something else. This isn't just a weapon. It's also a communication device. What do you mean? Connected to the hegemony fleet hidden behind the moon. If we can access its communication system, we might be able to send a message to their enemies. Keanu realized what she was suggesting. The outside threat that scared them in the first place. If we can contact whoever is hunting the hegemony, we might be able to get help. It was a desperate plan, but they were facing desperate odds. Ben began carefully working on the bomb's communication system, while Maya used the crystal to guide him. Across the city, Amy and Tony were discovering something equally important. The hegemony's subway transmitters were not just for mind control. They were also broadcasting a signal into space, calling for the main invasion fleet to begin its attack. But the transmitters had a weakness. They were connected to Earth's own communication networks, which meant they could be hacked. Tony grinned as he attached explosive charges to the main power cables. When this goes off, their whole system will overload. Will that stop the mind control device? Amy asked. For a while, but more importantly, it will send a feedback pulse to their fleet. Instead of a come and invade signal, they'll get a systems compromised, abort mission message. As the clock ticked toward midnight, The hidden war for Earth's future was being fought in basements and tunnels. With courage and cleverness instead of massive armies, the hegemony was about to learn that humans were full of surprises. At exactly midnight, Tony's explosives went off in the subway tunnels. The blast sent shockwaves through the hegemony's communication network and across the city. Their agents suddenly found themselves cut off from their commanders. In the abandoned factory, Maya felt a change immediately through the memory crystal. "Their network is down," she said excitedly. "I can see confusion in their thoughts. They don't know what's happening." Ben wiped sweat from his forehead as he finished connecting the planet cracker bomb to Earth's communication systems. "Okay, Maya, if you're going to send a message to whoever's hunting these guys, now's the time." Maya placed both hands on the crystal and closed her eyes. Through the memory web, she reached out across space, searching for the mysterious force that had driven the hegemony from their original homes. What she found surprised her. "They're not monsters," she said softly. "The ones hunting the hegemony, they're refugees too, but they're different. They believe in peace. They've been chasing the hegemony across the galaxy, trying to stop them from destroying other worlds." "Can you contact them?" Keanu asked. Maya concentrated harder, using the bomb's powerful transmitter to boost her signal. Suddenly her mind was filled with alien thoughts that felt warm and welcoming. "I'm connected," she whispered. "They're called the Harmony Coalition. They're a group of species that survived hegemony attacks and joined together to protect other worlds." Through Maya, the coalition spoke directly to the humans. Their message was simple. "We have been waiting for someone to stand up to the hegemony. We will help you, but the fight must begin with your own courage." At that moment, across Los Angeles, something extraordinary began to happen. The hegemony's mind-controlled transmitters had been damaged by Tony's explosion, but they were still partially active. Instead of making humans passive, the broken signals were having the opposite effect. People throughout the city suddenly felt more alert, more aware, more connected to each other. The chemicals that had been gradually dulling their minds for years were being neutralized by the feedback from the damaged systems. Dr. Nina Walsh was the first to understand what was happening. From her mobile laboratory, she watched as readings across the city showed human brain activity increasing dramatically. "It's like watching an entire species wake up," she told Lisa over their communication system. In the government buildings downtown, officials who had been under hegemony influence began to think clearly for the first time in years. General Harrison, the defense command leader who had been controlled by enemy agents, suddenly realized what had been done to him. "Get me every available unit," he ordered his staff. "We have hostiles in the city and they've been manipulating us for years." "Yes, Mayor." Collins felt the fog lift from her mind and immediately began coordinating with emergency services. Police Chief Martinez broke free from his mental conditioning and started organizing his officers to hunt down the infiltrators. But the most important change was happening among ordinary people, humans who had been gradually losing their fighting spirit. Suddenly remembered what it meant to defend their home. Amy watched from the subway tunnels as citizens began emerging from their apartments, looking around with new awareness. "Something's different," she reported to the team. "People are acting like they just woke up from a long sleep." The hegemony agents scattered throughout the city found themselves facing a population that was no longer passive. When they tried to blend in with crowds, humans instinctively identified them as threats. When they attempted to take hostages, ordinary people fought back with unexpected courage. Meanwhile, in space, the Harmony Coalition fleet was moving toward Earth, but they were not coming as conquerors. They were coming as allies, bringing technology and knowledge to help humanity defend itself. The hegemony invasion fleet, hiding behind the moon, received the corrupted signal from their sabotage transmitters. Instead of the invasion-ready message they expected, they got a transmission that seemed to show Earth's defenses were much stronger than anticipated. In the factory, Maya was still connected to the planet cracker bomb's communication system. Through it, she could hear the confusion among the hegemony fleet commanders. "They're arguing," she told Keanu and Ben. "Some want to attack immediately before Earth gets stronger. Others want to retreat and find an easier target." "Can you influence their decision?" Keanu asked. Maya smiled. I think I can do better than that. Shh. She reached out through the memory web to touch the minds of the hegemony commanders. But instead of trying to control them, she showed them something they had never seen before: human compassion. She shared memories of humans helping aliens who crashed on Earth, of human doctors treating injured Zephyrian refugees, of human families adopting children from other species. She showed them Earth's real strength, which was not its weapons or defenses, but its willingness to help others. The effect was immediate. Several of the younger hegemony commanders began to question their orders. If humans were capable of such kindness, why were they attacking them? "This is not what we were told," one commander said to his fleet. "We were told humans were aggressive conquerors, but these memories show something different." The hegemony fleet began to split apart as different species made different decisions. Some still wanted to attack, driven by fear and years of conditioning. But others began to consider that maybe there was another way. On Earth, Tony had reached the main mind control transmitter in the central subway station. It was a massive device, 10 times larger than the smaller transmitters scattered throughout the tunnels. "If I can overload this thing," he told Amy, "it'll send a shockwave through the entire hegemony network. Not just here, but to every world they've conquered." "What kind of shockwave?" Amy asked. "The kind that breaks mental conditioning and wakes people up. Every world under hegemony control will suddenly remember how to fight back." Tony began setting up his most powerful explosives around the device. But as he worked, hegemony agents finally tracked them down. Armed soldiers poured into the subway station, firing weapons that could cut through steel. Amy fought back with skills learned in dozens of space battles. But they were outnumbered 10 to 1. Just when it seemed they would be overwhelmed, something unexpected happened. Citizens of Los Angeles began pouring into the subway tunnels. They had no military training and no advanced weapons, but they had something more powerful. They were fighting for their home. Office workers, students, shop owners, and retirees joined the battle against the hegemony agents. They used construction tools, kitchen knives, and anything else they could find. But more importantly, they used their minds. Humans began coordinating their attacks in ways the hegemony had never seen. They shared information instantly, adapted to new situations without orders, found creative solutions to impossible problems. Maya, still connected to the memory web, watched the battle through 100 different perspectives. "They're not just fighting," she told Keanu in wonder. "They're improvising. Every human is coming up with new tactics in real time. The hegemony agents, trained for centuries in rigid military doctrine, could not adapt fast enough. It never faced an enemy that treated every battle like an art form instead of a science." Tony completed his work on the transmitter just as the last hegemony agents were being defeated. When he activated the overload, the explosion was not just physical. It was a psychic wave that traveled through space faster than light, reaching every world in the hegemony's empire. On 1,000 conquered planets, enslaved populations suddenly remembered their freedom. Rebellions began spontaneously across the galaxy as species that had been controlled for generations broke free from their mental chains. The hegemony's empire, built over 1,000 years of conquest, began collapsing in a single day. In space, around Earth, the Harmony Coalition fleet arrived to find most of the hegemony ships already surrendering. The commanders who had seen Maya's memories of human kindness were convinced that cooperation was better than conquest. Unity Day arrived 2 weeks later, but it was different from what anyone had planned. Instead of just celebrating peace between known allies, Earth was welcoming former enemies who had chosen to become friends. Maya stood next to Keanu outside the same restaurant where they had first met. Yes. But now, she was not alone in hiding. She was Earth's first official ambassador too. The Harmony Coalition, helping to coordinate relief efforts for worlds damaged by the hegemony. "Do you think it will last?" she asked Keanu. "The peace, I mean." Keanu looked up at the sky, where ships from dozens of species moved peacefully through Earth's atmosphere. "I think we've shown the galaxy something important. Fighting is sometimes necessary, but helping each other is always better." Maya smiled and held up her memory crystal. which now glowed with a warm golden light instead of cold blue. The memory web is changing. Instead of storing fears and old battles, it's starting to store hopes and dreams. What kind of dreams? Keanu asked. Dreams of a galaxy where every species is free to choose its own path. Dreams of worlds where children never have to hide in subway tunnels. Dreams of adventures we haven't even imagined yet. As the sun set over Los Angeles, Maya and Keanu watched as the first